In this video, we're going to be going through how Worlds players position downfield to generate opportunities to get a layup block. My name's Eric, I play for the Premier Opens Club in Australia, and in this clip, we're going to be going through one example of Team USA versus Team Australia where a layup block chance occurs. And what I want to do here is break down all the examples, all the fundamentals that lead up to the block occurring so that you guys can apply these same principles in your games and look for the same layup block opportunities when you're out there on the field yourself. So with that being said, let's hit play. While you watch this, I want you to pay attention to Alex Gann's positioning at the back of the stack downfield towards the left side of your screen.
Resetting, no rush for USA, happy to work it in. Finney putting in big fakes, a massive around, finds player, that inside break, and a huge layout block. Awesome. Alexander Gann.
Kudos to Gann, great block. Funnily enough, Alex is actually one of my teammates, one of my captains at Sydney Sunder, and he consistently talks about some of the concepts that I'm going to share with you throughout the rest of this video. Sweet, let's hit rewind and let's talk about exactly how this block occurs and how you guys can be thinking the same way when you guys are playing downfield defense in Ultimate. Now, the first framework that I want us to understand here is the concept of risk spaces. Now, the idea behind risk spaces is that there are different spaces that are threatening or risky on the field, depending on the different variables or the different circumstances on the field at the time. So for example, the force, the thrower, the receiver, the wind, etc. You can see here as the disc moves towards the right side of the field and as the mark gets on the force, the risk space is very clearly towards this right side of the field. The idea here is because the disc is in that third towards the right side of the field, the right side of the field remains high risk compared to the left side of the field, which is slightly lower risk. Obviously, depending on the thrower, depending on the mark, there's still opportunities for the mark to get broken. But the idea here is we want to make a calculation. We want to understand exactly what is most high risk so that we can position in a way to prevent the risky options on the field. Now, I want you to pay attention to Gann's positioning at the back of the stack here. He understands that the right side of the field is high risk. So you can see based on that information, based on that knowledge, he's positioning himself in such a way where he's able to see his player and see the disc while preventing the first half of this end zone altogether. This is also where the orbit comes into play. You'll notice here, because the disc is further towards the right side of the field, further towards that third, he feels more comfortable here opening up that orbit and giving himself a bit of a buffer towards the open side, knowing that the right side of the field is high risk. What this means is if Johnny Monks here decides to attack him in either way, either towards the back cone or towards the front cone, he has enough time to react to the movement, open up his hips, and stop him from getting a score towards this high risk space. At the same time, he's acutely aware, he's very aware that the disc can swing at any point in time. Why does this matter? Well, if the disc moves towards the left side of the field, the risk spaces on the field are going to completely change. If the disc moves towards the left side, all of a sudden, even though we have a forehand force, the left side of the field becomes high risk and the right side of the field becomes lower risk. And so he's positioned in such a way where he can see the disc, he can see the thrower, he can see this side of the field, so that if the disc moves, he's able to adjust his buffer in such a way to still contest this area on the field. And you can see that if I hit play, that's exactly what happens. First, he's positioned with a buffer to stop anything towards the open side, since the disc is closer towards that open side. And as he notices the thrower is winding up for this inside break and for this around break, he quickly makes a decision to completely adjust his positioning. Instead of being comfortable with this orbit towards the open side and keeping that bigger distance between him and his player, that bigger buffer, he immediately notices this swing and takes 2 to 3 hard steps towards his player. Again, if we come back to our principles of risk spaces, because the disc is on this left side of the field, they're closer towards attacking this left side of the field than the right side of the field. Meaning that this left side becomes high risk, and we want to position downfield in a way to be able to contest this high risk space. So even if we just rewind 5 seconds back, you can see how quickly The downfield defense, again in this situation, can go from having a pretty comfortable large buffer towards the open side versus feeling the need to close up that buffer immediately, knowing that the new risk is somewhere else on the field. The idea here is that in Ultimate, risk spaces are constantly changing very, very quickly. So as a downfield defender, and especially at the world's level, we need to be ready to react quickly and change our positioning quickly based on what's happening everywhere else. That's what Gannon's able to do super well here, and it ultimately puts him in the best spot so that when Johnny makes this cut towards that break side of the field, he is close enough to identify that layout block pattern and is able to lay out and intercept the pass altogether. You can see here that even if he was just a fraction of a second behind in adjusting his buffer, adjusting his orbit, he wouldn't have been in a great spot to contest this pass. But because he's aware, because he notices the disc swinging, and because he notices the risk spaces changing on the field, he's able to adjust his orbit, stay close to his player, and put himself in the best spot to generate this layout block. That half-second difference, that level of awareness, is the difference between an elite level player versus a world's level player. So to summarize, number one, we want to identify exactly what the risk spaces are on the field at any one point in time. We also need to be ready for these risk spaces to constantly change and for them to change quickly. From there, we want to adjust our buffer and adjust our orbit, adjust our positioning based off the risk spaces. If the disc is towards the open side, we can feel more comfortable having a bigger orbit, having a bigger buffer. From here in the end zone, if we're at the 5, we want to ideally be in a spot where we can see the movement of the disc. That way, that allows us to make a calculated decision with our positioning and contest whatever new risk spaces occur on the field. In this scenario, being able to put all these pieces together means that USA is denied of an easy score, and it means that Australia gets a chance to bring the game back to even at the world stage at London Invite. Cool, that's the video. Next time you're playing downfield defense, make sure to apply those concepts, adjust that buffer, adjust that orbit depending on the risk spaces on the field, and you'll be sure to get more layout blocks in your game in no time. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I'll make sure I reply to it. Make sure to like and subscribe for more Ultimate Frisbee content just like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.